Hi, and welcome to tonight's Neat USA program. I'm your host, Paul Hart, and I want to thank you for joining us once again this evening. You know, the topic tonight is really relevant. Drug and alcohol abuse affect everybody and everybody's family. So, my topic tonight is Straight and Narrow. Straight and Narrow is a huge drug and alcohol rehab program based out of Paterson, New Jersey. And my guests tonight are two professionals from Straight and Narrow. And my guests tonight are Ruth Jean Marie and Farah Major. And I'm going to introduce you to them. Ruth?
Hi.
Ruth, why don't you tell our audience what you do at Straight and Narrow, your title?
Hi, I'm Ruth Jean Marie. I'm the clinical director for Detox and Men's Residential Treatment Services.
All right. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
I oversee all the clinical services that's provided to our clientele that we serve.
And Farah?
Good evening to everyone. I'm Farah Major. I'm the drug court coordinator at Straight and Narrow.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. So I'm really excited to have you guys here. We had an opportunity to talk a little bit earlier, and now you said that you are what exactly is that title again?
The clinical director
Right.
over Detox and Men's Residential Treatment Services.
And Men's Residential Treatment Services. And you are the coordinator?
The drug court coordinator.
Drug court coordinator, okay. Now those things sound like two men's programs, is that right?
No,
No?
not in my realm. I deal with
Okay.
the men and the women.
Okay, all right. So I guess let's take a step back. Let me ask you this: what exactly, what programs does Straight and Narrow offer?
Well, Straight and Narrow provides a variety of different types of programs, different levels of care. We have starting with detox.
Okay.
When a client comes in and they're detoxifying from the chemicals that they've induced. So there's the medical component that assists with the withdrawal process. So medical department oversees that. Then we have the residential program. There's men's and there's women, long term for both men and women, and there's short term for men. And there's also our intensive outpatient program and our outpatient program as well.
Okay. And that's for men and women?
Correct. And we also have what's co-ed, yes. And we also have Monsignor Wall, which is our methadone, our medication assisted treatment program as well.
Okay.
And we have IDRC, Intoxicated Drivers Treatment Center. And we have La Vida Care, which is one of our community programs, which provides services to the families within the community. And we also have our adolescent program.
Okay.
And most recently, we have the Halfway House, which is dedicated to men's drug court participants.
Now, when you say drug court, why don't you explain that to me? What exactly does drug court mean?
Well, drug court is a statewide initiative where individuals who are in the justice system receive treatment as opposed to incarceration.
Okay.
So drug court is a program in which some minor offenders, there's different levels of offenses that you can commit, but then they assess you. If you have a substance abuse problem that lines up with your criminal behavior, then you may be eligible for drug court, whereas they would seek first for treatment as opposed to being punitive.
Okay. All right. So I would imagine that the drug court program is pretty full. That there's a lot of referrals to the halfway house, to the drug court program. Is that how it works?
Well, the halfway house is specifically for drug court clients.
Okay.
So all of the referrals that go to the halfway house are from drug court, whereas our men's and our women's treatment services are not just for drug court participants. They can be referred by a number of resources or funding sources, be it DCPMP, NJSI, DUI, SAI, and also county funding.
Okay. Do you want to say something?
No, she covered it. The
Okay.
different funding sources.
Now, let me take a step back, because right now there's an epidemic of drug overdoses, a lot going on. Alcohol and drugs is running rampant. So if I'm a person who wanted help, or I'm a family member who wanted to get help for a family member, what would be the first thing I would do? How would I call Straight and Narrow and say I need help? What's the procedure?
Well, you can, if you're familiar with Straight and Narrow, you can go on our website. However, there's the statewide initiative, the IME, where you can call their 800 number, and they can also direct you to the different services within the state of New Jersey. As for Straight and Narrow, if you come onto our website, you'll see that you would call our admissions department, where a screening is done to assess what level of care you would pretty much meet, and then from there, they will schedule you for an intake and then take it from there.
Okay. So help me out with this, because, and I don't know if everybody out there knows, you mentioned that you also oversee a detox program.
Correct.
What exactly would that mean? I mean, because I'm not sure if everybody understands what detox means.
So detox is one of the level of services where a client, someone who comes in who's been doing drugs, come in and they want to withdraw from the drugs that they've been induced, that they've been abusing, excuse me. So we have our detox program that provides clinical services and medical services. And your average of the stay is between 7 to 10 days, depending on the substance that you've abused.
Okay.
So you use that time to actually withdraw from the substance while you're being medically monitored by professionals.
Okay. How long do they normally stay in detox?
Well, it averages between 7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days, okay. And while they're in there in the 7 to 10 days, you said they have an opportunity to kind of get themselves together. Is that where would they then move over to a long-term program, or can they just detox and go home?
So we also provide case management services for clients to come in. So during that process, while one is withdrawing from their drug of choice, we assess the client to determine what next level of care would be appropriate for them. And then from there, we'll make the referrals. Of course, with the client included, they would have to want to go on to the next recommended level of care.
Okay. All right. Now, we've talked a lot about with the intake and the initial beginning. I guess I want to ask, we haven't really mentioned women, because I know you deal predominantly with men, and you said you kind of, your drug court is for women and men. Are there, what do the numbers look like? Are there a lot more men, a lot more women? What are the numbers at Straight and Narrow? What's the population like at Straight and Narrow?
Well, at Straight and Narrow in particular,
Right.
which is not indicative of the population of substance abusers community-wide, worldwide, nationally, or drug court statistics, we just have a larger population of men that we service at Straight and Narrow because of the way the program is set up and the number of beds that we have allotted for the different programs.
So you said you almost make it sound like, well, we are allotted, we have a lot more beds for men as opposed to, for the women.
Well, there's more services available to men versus the women.
That's my question. Okay.
So, I mean, if we were to rephrase the question, the amount of services made available to women, if it's as equal to men, I would say no.
Okay.
There's more services available to men than it is for women.
Okay.
There's a great need for women's services.
And when we look at the numbers out there right now, are there more women using drugs at this point than men?
Well, I don't have that particular statistics at hand for you right now, but service-wide, I would say that men has more services available to them than the women. Because you have to also understand, you have the women the mothers with babies, the mothers who are pregnant while using drugs. So you also have to provide services to them as well. Versus the men, they come in by themselves. So you have a lot of women who are seeking a program for a mommy and me. Someone who's just giving birth, someone who has little ones and doesn't have anyone to care for them, while they're in treatment. So there's limited services available to women in those particular situations.
And how long has Straight and Narrow been around?
Since 1954.
Okay, all right. Let me ask you, what makes Straight and Narrow different than any other rehab program out there? What's the difference?
Well, we provide a variety of different levels of care, from detox all the way to residential services in IOP, meaning intensive outpatient, outpatient services. We have the long and short-term residential services for men and women, the long-term, and we also have our halfway house for men, versus another program may not have a variety of services under one umbrella.
Okay, all right. I want to ask you a little bit more about this drug court. Now, is this something that do you actively go out to the courts and market Straight and Narrow, or does Straight and Narrow have a large name and they know that they can, Straight and Narrow is just one of the facilities that they can send their clients to?
Well, Straight and Narrow does have a name in and of itself where it doesn't, at this point, it doesn't require a lot of marketing.
Okay.
But I do go to several counties a month for court reporting, and so I'm put in a position where I am really like the face for Straight and Narrow in the counties that we deal with, that we service. So it is a level of marketing because we all know that customer service is important. It doesn't matter how large your name is or what your reputation is. If the people who do not represent your organization provide customer service that is satisfactory and that is pleasing, then it can diminish, the name that you have made for yourself, and it can hurt business.
Okay.
But it's a good thing that Straight and Narrow can stand on its own just based on the services that Straight and Narrow provides across the board. But I do go to the different courts and I do market to a certain extent to the different courts. But we are on a list of providers that's statewide. So.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about the men, we've talked about the women. Now, I remember somebody telling me that you guys also have an adolescent program. And I know you guys are not involved in it, but is there anything you can tell me about it at all?
It's also a residential program for boys,
Okay.
adolescent between ages
Probably
What is it?
13 to 17.
around that range. I really can't speak to it much because I don't service the adolescent program. However, they do exist. The program, we do have an adolescent program. And it's a residential program.
Okay.
I want to say it's long term as well.
All right. Long term. And that's what I wanted to ask you about, the long-term program for the men. How long is that program, and what are you really trying to do with them while they're here? What specifically are they working on while they're here in the long-term program?
Well, just to give you an idea of when someone first come into treatment, so it's long term. It's a variable length of stay. So you can have 4 guys coming at the same time, but that doesn't mean that they're all going to leave at the same time.
Right.
Everyone is addressed individually, where they develop a treatment plan with their counselor and identify the specific issues that they want to work on. And then from there, they're assessed on every 30 days to determine whether they're ready to move on to the next issue that they want to work on, or justify a longer length of stay.
Okay.
So one's length of stay is determined by clinical justification as to why they need to be there, not just because one wants to hang out and they don't have a job or they're homeless or whatever the case may be. It would be justified based on what's needed clinically for them.
And what's the average length of stay, would you say?
Between 4 to 6 months.
Okay. And the drug court men, how long do they normally stay?
The drug court men are under the same umbrella, 4 to 6 months.
4 to 6 months, okay. And now I do know with drug court, now they have to find, explain this to me. In drug court, when they leave, do they have to have housing? Do they find their own housing? Do we find housing for the men while they're here?
Well, it
When they
depends.
transition?
It depends on the individual because every case is different. If the discharge plan is for them to return home, that means that they have to have a approved home by drug court in
Right.
order for them to be able to return there. But if the discharge plan says halfway house, then they have to go to be discharged to a approved drug court halfway house facility. It just all depends on what's going on with their particular situation and what is recommended clinically for them.
Okay. Now, I know you guys probably don't keep numbers on this, but what would you say, if you had to guess, maybe the graduation rate for straight and narrow? Like, when people come, do they normally stay? And what would be that percentage?
Well, I don't think there really is a graduation per se.
Well, okay. But do they normally stay the whole 6 months?
Well, again, it varies depending on one's funding source and also your clinical justification as to why that client needs to be there. So again, it's not, Paul is coming in and he's staying for 6 months and I'm your counselor. I can't say at 6 months you're going to be leaving. Maybe in 2 months you've met all your treatment goals and objectives and you're ready to leave, provided that I've assisted with case management and referring you out to the next level of care. So it varies on a different individual. So I like to tell clients, you pretty much dictate your length of stay in treatment based on what you do or what you don't do. That assists us with determining the next level of care for you.
You mentioned something that you said the different funding sources.
Correct.
What are those different funding sources?
As Farah mentioned earlier, you have your NJSI, which is New Jersey Substance Initiative. You have your DUI. You have your SAI. You have drug court as one of the funding sources. We also have MAP for our clients who are the mutual agreement program within the corrections facility. We have federal probation. There's also self-pay if someone wants to come in self-pay or even with their insurances as well.
How many clients do you find self-pay?
It's a smaller amount.
I can
in the
imagine.
fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have this Straight and Narrow, sounds like, and when I visited Straight and Narrow, beautiful program. What about recidivism? What about people coming back? Do you see a lot of that? People leaving, graduating, maybe doing the 6 months, and unfortunately having to turn back around and come back?
I don't know if I would say a client graduates. It's an ongoing
Sure,
process.
sure.
So they may complete successfully at the time that they're in treatment. Now, to answer your question in regards to recidivism, do we get a lot of clients that return? Yes. And that usually happens because for a good amount of reasons, whether it be that the client has made poor decisions, have not allowed themselves to learn from being in treatment and apply the principles or the suggestions that's been provided to them, and they've made poor decisions that leads them back, or they're mandated the second go round versus the first time they weren't court mandated. Second go round they're court mandated, or a lot of things tend to contribute to one coming back. And also referring clients back out into the community, like we talked about the lack of resources. So we tend to send clients back to an environment where there's nothing available to them. And we're limited because there's no resources available to refer them out. So you have clients that go back to the same environment that they were in, not that they don't want to do right, but they're going back to that type of environment.
Right. All right. Now I'm going to ask you something on a personal level. So both of you guys are here at Straight and Narrow, doing a wonderful job. Personally, why? You could probably have done a lot of other things. Why Straight and Narrow? Why this environment?
Okay, I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, it's not more so a question of why Straight and Narrow.
Right. Okay.
It's more so a question of why the field in general.
Exactly.
First of all, I feel called to help individuals who are struggling
Amen.
with issues,
Amen.
period. Not just substance abuse issues. Because one thing you will find is that when our clients come in, substance abuse may be one of their primary issues, but there can be a plethora of other issues that they're dealing with. And so it's my goal in life to provide a safe haven for
Yes.
individuals to face challenges, issues, and struggles in their lives on a multitude of levels, and hopefully have some sort of rehabilitation and have a holistic approach to getting themselves together to live a productive and rewarding life, a purpose-filled life, whatever that is for them.
Right.
And I find that a lot of facilities don't deal with the whole individual. They address only parts. And that's one of the unique things about Straight and Narrow, because it does come from a holistic approach, whereas our clients are able to practice whatever faith they, attest to
Right.
being their way of life while they get medical treatment and clinical treatment. So that's why for me, Straight and Narrow. But just the field in general, it's because I know that I'm called to help people and to loose people to in any way that I'm able to from bondage
That's great.
that they may find themselves in, be it environmental, family issues, what have you.
Thank you. Ooh.
And as for me, I've been in the field for about 17 years now, and the one thing that I've learned in working in the field is to give them an experience that society has not given them.
Yes.
So for me, I'm passionate about working with the population, working with within the field, because I'm in a position where I can make a difference in one's life, whether it be that I plant that little seed and that, in a system with positioning themselves to be watered, by making better decisions in their lives so that they can flourish at some point. Like, Farrah was saying, being able to assist with, helping clients release that bondage that they're in, because this is a spiritual disease, where they tend to, if their spiritual is attacked, then every area of their life is going to be attacked. And the one thing that I do enjoy about working with Straight and Narrow is that, like Farrah indicated, is that there's a different variety of belief systems that's acknowledged.
Right.
And not dismissed, in assisting the client to understand that, okay, you can be in this one faith, but we're still here to help you.
Right.
So we're not here to discriminate of what your faith or what your belief system is, but we're here to provide, to serve you. And that's what I believe I'm called to do, is to serve.
Okay, that's awesome. Both of you guys, when you said that, and both of you guys predominantly really said that you were called to do this work.
Absolutely.
So spirituality is a really important part of what we
Most
do
definite.
here. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, along with spirituality, we also do the 12-step program. Is that also included in this whole, and what Straight and Narrow does?
We also provide the 12-step. We expose our clients to the 12-step philosophy. It's not for everyone.
Right.
Those who are open to it, we do expose them, where we have outside commitments come in and talk about 12-step and what it entails. And we also have clients. We also have groups that educate clients on what 12-step is about.
Okay. Any new programs, any new initiatives that you may want to tell me about? Something I don't want you to tell me anything you're not supposed to tell me, but anything new going on?
Well, I think a new piece to the programming is the new investment in the family as a whole.
Beautiful.
And Ruth can speak to this about the family program that was recently implemented in the men's and the women's services.
Right. Working in the field, one thing that I would tell families is that although your loved ones may be the ones dealing with the substance abuse, but it's a family problem.
Absolutely.
It affects the family in some shape or form. And in their loved ones, they need the family support. They need that love to let them know that they're not in this by themselves. Although they may be the one to be abusing the substance themselves, but in other areas in their lives, it affects the family.
Absolutely.
And we have a family program where we provide education to the family and helping them understand what the addiction process is all about, and also their role and function as a family, as to what they can do and what to look out for.
Right.
So we provide the education, and we also provide consultations and therapy as needed.
That's such a big piece, because so many times you hear addicts and alcoholics say, leave me alone, I'm not bothering anybody. But they don't realize the effect that they have on their family,
Right.
their friends, their loved ones, and it really does play such a big part in the household.
Yes.
It does. When we spoke prior to this, I asked, each one of you guys, can you give me a success story? And you said something interesting, and I remember this. You said, I don't know if I have a success story, because anytime somebody comes in and they want help, they're already a success. And that was beautiful. But I'm going to ask you again, is there one success story, and we coming down to the end, maybe a minute, somebody that you just thought wasn't going to make it and just did really well, or just something that just really made you smile, or just something that happened that you felt really good about?
I don't know about Ruth, but for me,
Sure.
I never go into a situation with a new client thinking they can't make it.
Okay.
Part of the reason why I do what I do is because I feel like there's hope for everyone.
Yes.
As long as you still have breath in your body, you still have the opportunity to make a shift, do a 180, get yourself together, and do better.
Right.
Okay? So as far as a success story, I'll give you a more recent one. I was in my office on Friday, and I had a gentleman who was discharged successfully just a couple of months ago.
Right.
And he stopped in the office on Friday and came to see me, and he looked great. He
Awesome.
told me all about the new
Awesome.
job that he has. He's getting his life back on track. His
Awesome.
kids are back in his life. He's working, providing for himself. He's staying clean. He's looking well. And he started to outline his goals for his next level.
Awesome.
And so to me, that's success.
That's success.
Because a lot of times in this field, you don't see the fruits of your labor.
Right.
But when you have someone who can come back and it's evident on them that they're still doing well, that they're actually working their recovery and they have something to show for it, then that's success.
Okay. We're getting down near the end of the show. I'm going to ask either one of you, if I wanted to get in contact with Straight and Narrow, how would I do so? The phone number, the address, could you give the audience that?
We're Straight and Narrow is located on 508 Straight Street in Paterson, New Jersey. Our main number is 973-345-6000.
Is anything else? And let me say, we're getting ready to end this. You know what? I want to tell the audience, you know what? We pray for you guys. We pray for your family, for your friends. You know, addiction and alcoholism affects everybody. It really is a relevant thing right now. You know, it's something that's affecting every family. And I did want to read something to you guys. And it's a scripture that I think is relevant right now. It's, just give me one moment. I should have had this. Matthew 7:13-14. Matthew 7:13-14. And it reads, "Enter you in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction. And many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leads unto life, and few there be that find it." And it's very true that there are few that find it. But here is Straight and Narrow. It looks like they're trying to lead people to that straight and narrow and through that gate. And I thank you guys for joining Neat USA. I thank you for joining the program tonight. And just remember, like I always say, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you.